welcome to southalttv.com, and you are watching What's Up London with Rowdy Farooqi. Today's program is actually a very special one. Normally, you know that I come with this program with Nimrata Tingra at 6 o'clock, which, by the way, I will still be back at 6 o'clock with Nimrata. But this is a very special program. Today I have two young gentlemen with me who are, well, team born sinner. Just let me give you a little background of that. They made a film, Born Sinner, and basically I was lucky enough to get involved in that for very beginning. And I'm very proud of you guys to actually make that film, and the way it was done, it was absolutely amazing. So we will talk about that in some other program, because this program is especially regarding this upcoming elections, and it's a privilege for me to hear youth point of view. So welcome Sanmu and Sherry. If I'm Sherry, if I'm always switching your both of your names. So now first question for me is that, because I've seen I've been doing this election program for last couple of weeks now, and whenever I talk to youth about it, either their view is okay, I don't know, or their view is I can't be bothered, or they will say, yeah, I will just vote to whoever my parents are voting. So what makes you guys think of actually making an effort coming here and talking about it?
So firstly, as a student, I personally feel that the general elections hasn't, like, any time any party has come into power, I feel like it hasn't affected me personally that much. But however, with this particular election, there seems to be this social media buzz where everyone's just talking about it, and because there's a lot of underlying society issues which need to be tackled, and either it's due to me studying law and being more concerned about the society and worrying about all the issues there are which need to be addressed, or the fact that everyone's just talking about it so much. I feel like this particular election, there's a lot that needs to be addressed, and any party that comes into power needs to tackle all the issues which are happening in society at the moment.
So what are those issues you are particularly concerned about, that you have to actually, in a way, come out and say, you know what, let's talk about it?
I think there's actually a vast array of issues in our current society, fundamental issues actually in our society at this very moment that needs to be addressed. And they all affect us because as a youth we have a long future ahead of us, and it's important that those issues are addressed. So if I'm going to give you some examples, I believe that our education system needs to be properly funded throughout, because that's, even though I may have just finished university, people younger than me who are still going through university, it's important that they get the best education they can. And it runs all the way down to grassroots as well. So young kids in public schools, I believe that they should get the proper education in order for our future to be highly skilled, our future generation to be highly competitive on a global scale. And various other issues such as ensuring that our health services, NHS, are properly funded and remain free, because we just need to, I guess, look across the Atlantic, America, to see the issues that can arise if you privatize the healthcare. And even Brexit's a massive thing for us as the youth, because coming out of the EU is obviously leaving the European Union is going to have a lot of effects on us economically. And we need to make sure that we come out with the best possible deal, and whoever is going to come into power at the end of this week, they need to be in the best position to negotiate the best deal for us. So there's a variety of issues that all need to be pressed.
Now, before I move any further with this, now this, what you just said, I 100% agree to that, but how are you going to explain in a way that your generation, your age group understand it? Because I've talked to a lot of youth actually regarding this, and they wouldn't have any idea what securing NHS means, or what getting best deal out of Brexit means. So how would you explain it to your age group, your generation?
That's a good question. Thing is, neither of us here are political experts any kind. We're here.
Well, that's I think good thing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. We're here in our capacity of Team Born Sinner. The thing is, as the youth, I think the youth are very active nowadays, especially on social media and things like that. That's actually an advantage because they go out there, find information. Like a year ago, half the stuff I recognized from this upcoming election, the information I knew, I would probably not even dreamt of knowing. So it's about collecting information and going out and understanding what your needs are because my needs, my pledges that I require can be completely different to yours, Samu's, anyone out there. So it's understanding what your needs are and going out there finding that information for yourself.
So for being a young, students yourselves, you're studying law and you are studying?
I study law as well.
You're studying, so both of you are studying law. So I think I'm making an assumption here. For you, education probably be the most important issue here, or is it not? Or you're torn?
No. So I'm speaking on behalf of like a lot of students out there. The truth is, loads of students right now are more concerned with the general election right now because of the fact that certain parties have claimed to get rid of the whole tuition fees aspect and all that. So that brings a lot of buzz and a lot of this social media hype saying elect this certain party to get rid of the tuition fees, etc. So like myself, to be honest, like the whole general election and all that, it is a very important thing in today's society, and we need to elect the appropriate government in order for them to take action and tackle all these problems. But so to speak, for majority of students, their general concern is the fact that whichever party can get rid of tuition fees and benefit them. It is a selfish thing, but that's the truth is that's how society is nowadays.
Well, absolutely. If you are a student, first thing is on your head basically is your tuition fee.
Yeah.
And you definitely don't want to get into student loans and stuff to pay for your education.
Of course, and I think that is true to some extent. But growing on from that, I think we need to realize that education is important. So that's a policy that resonates closely to us. But it's not just, we shouldn't just think in a single mind saying this is the one policy we're looking for. We should be looking for multiple policies. So as I mentioned before, protecting NHS. So we're one of the fifth richest economies in the world, yet 1 in 8 of us in this country are in poverty. So that's crazy. That's
unbelievable in a way.
Yeah, unbelievable. And worst thing is, it's estimated around 40 million children are in relative poverty. So what we can understand from this is that there's this great inequality of wealth in our society. So, see, I may be coming off as this extreme leftist or like we need to change the world kind of thing, but that's honestly not the truth. The truth is,
probably do need to.
the truth of the matter is, if we have a more equal society and if we're funding things like education, healthcare, what we get is a group of citizens in our country who are active, they're healthy, they're highly skilled because of the good education they're getting, which in turn makes them, in a global sense, more competitive, especially with us coming out of the EU and things like that. There's this need for a demand for our manufacturing sectors, services sectors. So if we're pumping in investment into things like education, healthcare, we're creating a society that can be, on an economic level, strong, stable, and growing, moving forward. And like I mentioned, fifth richest, or one of the 5 richest economies in the world. And if we're going to carry on growing, this is what we need to achieve. Okay,
so basically, you are saying that in order to create a stable and a society that can support the whole nation, we need to make sure that our education system is at its best, and our health system at its best. Okay, so going on that note, let me just quickly say that this is the point of view we are discussing today. And if you have basically any comment on this, please, you can comment on Facebook if you're watching on Facebook, or you can call the studio on 0208 707 3227. So basically, anything which is related to today's program, you can comment on, and you can actually talk to the whole panel here today. And believe you me, this is a unique point of view, because we've been doing this for the last few weeks, and we will carry on doing it till all the way to election. And getting a youth's point of view is, in my book anyway, is very important. So, yeah, no, carry on.
Yeah, sorry. As I was mentioning, these things I said need to be addressed is often, like, I've seen it a lot in the media actually, when people like Jeremy Corbyn or someone has suggested this, they've been saying, oh, it's this lefty argument, it's not. But the thing is, it's what we need to realize, it's these things like free education and stuff is quite common amongst many of the countries across the world. It's not something that's new in a sense. It's very common. It's just us adopting it is going to have a positive impact. It's very progressive in my.
I have to ask something here. In light of what happened yesterday in London, and I have to say it's an absolute shameful act. It's just for me, it's just mind-boggling. I can't even comprehend how can people do that. However, I think a lot of this is to do with people's mentality to education goes to education. So is it all about free education, cheaper education, or the quality of education as well? Because in this country, even though we are free to learn whatever we want, free to go any type of school we want, and we even have like religious school license if people go for religious school. So do you think is the quality of education is as important, or is just needs to be just accessible?
I think I agree. Quality of education is important. We were talking earlier, actually, we were talking about this scenario where, because we have to understand, schools aren't funded equally. Every school isn't guaranteed a certain amount of money. It's different funding. So we took the example, actually, I actually heard this in an interview where it was suggested that, say you take an affluent part of London and not so affluent part of London, and say in that school you'll have this scenario where the parents are encouraged to donate towards the school. So in that affluent part of London, it'll be quite easy for a parent in that school to donate £100 a month. And then in that not so affluent part of London, a parent might not be able to do the same. So in the short term, it might not seem big, £100. Okay, but the longer term effects of this is that affluent part of London, that school, they can afford better teachers, better equipment, better education in a sense. And that school carries on growing.
And maybe they can provide more opportunities to their students.
Exactly. And then you have this other scenario where the other school are, in a sense, struggling. They might be pushed to places where they have to let go of staff, overcrowding the school, and that creates this inequality. And so the long-term effects of that is going to show up in things like university applications, which students end up going to universities, higher universities, Russell Group universities, and things like that. So it's definitely, education is not just going to have an effect from preschool, but it's going to impact you through your life, because luckily, we've managed to have a good education, and it's going to impact us for the rest of our life. And I think it's
probably your next generation as well.
Exactly. So as a youth, education is important, and it's something that's going to have a massive resonance to the voting public.
To touch on that, the whole idea of education, I feel like everyone needs to stress on the matter that education is important, because now in contemporary society, people are more the issue of having a good education is like it's talk like they don't emphasize it enough. That's what I personally feel, because if they did, then you wouldn't get all these issues, etc. Because the basic is, if you have a good education and you are taught all the good things, and
it kind of broadens your mind.
Exactly. So if that is taught from a very young age, I feel like people are will be more motivated to carry on carry on to higher education.
And I think I may be wrong here, but I believe that if someone studies in a school where the environment is a bit not healthy in a way, to put it lightly, so they probably have more chances of getting influenced by the other negative propaganda, the negative.
Definitely, and
because if a school has that kind of funding, or
yeah.
a school can provide extracurricular activities, sports, this, that, the other, so their mind is kind of divided and diverted into
definitely. If
and that's why I think it's important, whoever is going to come into government ensures that they apply policies whereby schools are properly funded in a proper manner, whereby we create this next generation of highly skilled people. So, like you mentioned, yeah, that's an issue we're gonna have to tackle.
Okay, now before we go further, Jan J. Kumar saying "Smashing It, boys," and Rikin Patel, geez, wow. So basically, they're loving it.
Love to you guys. Yeah, keep on coming in. Like any questions,
absolutely.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Any question, or you can call the 0208-707-3227. You can call in the studios, and these guys will be happy to answer all your questions, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so you said these policies. Now, how you think today's youth should equip themselves to select the right person, vote for the right person or right candidate?
This is a tough one, actually. Luckily, both of us have never been like, oh, we're supporting this party. Thanks to our parents, mom and dad, they've always allowed us to be free thinkers. So this idea of considering other people's point of views, understanding from their perspective, and I think that's a good thing. And I think that gives us this openness. For instance, with this election, we sat down, we actually had a look at the various manifestos. And I think it's important that we're voting on specific manifestos, specific policies and pledges.
Now, there's a question here. As we were discussing before the program, there's quite a few manifestos looking very similar at the moment.
Yeah.
So, again, that makes the choice even harder.
Yeah.
So how would you choose between all these similar-looking manifestos?
Okay, that's a good question. So there's similar-looking manifestos. So then it comes down to, you need to understand what specific things you need changing in society, what resonates with you, and then you see which one is most resonative with you. So for instance, amongst the similar manifestos and various others, a common one I got thrown at was, like close loved ones used to tell me, when I talk about Jeremy Corbyn's manifesto, is they're like, oh, he's selling you dreams, he's selling you rainbows, he's selling you unicorns. And they're mocking me, essentially, right? And I understand why they would, their concerns.
Well, on this point, actually, I've heard a couple of, last week actually, on radio, I was going somewhere in a taxi and there was a radio on, one of the mainstream radio channels, and some ordinary public person from public called in, and they said that the only reason, I don't know where the money is going to come from, I don't know what he's promising is going to be delivered or not, but I'm going to vote for the hope.
Yeah.
So how much of what you're saying is hope, or how much is the numbers?
Crunching numbers.
Let
me add to my, so when that person, I won't name them, when that person actually told me that, I understood, I was like, I understand you, bro, that's chill, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. But what my response to them was, like, I've had to read the various manifestos, and while Jeremy Corbyn's manifesto, to me, is fully costed throughout, another one I read...
With a lot of boring.
Another one I read didn't have the same thing. So then I asked them, so who's really selling me dreams? Who's really selling me rainbows? Who's really selling me unicorns? So
now, as I just, in fact, I just cracked a joke in there, but one thing is... when we're talking about Jeremy Corbyn's manifesto, there are a lot of stuff which they're promising is based on borrowing. So what's your take on that? Because of course the opposition is saying that, oh, you can promise anything if you have to borrow the money. I can give you, any money if I have to just borrow it for somewhere.
No, I understand that. But like I mentioned, it's fully costed in the sense that, let me take, for example, his pledge to give free school meals in public schools.
Public school, yeah.
So I understand some people might be thinking, what's the point of that? Can't the money be used somewhere else? So first of all, the money he's using to fund that is actually, so currently there's a VAT exemption on private school. So he's taking away that exemption, and the money taken from there is funded for the public schools, free meal. So this, while someone may ask, oh, what's the point of this? Why can't this money be used somewhere else? What I understand, like I mentioned at the start, is it's estimated we have around 4 million children in poverty. So it's going to help those people directly. And like I mentioned, how our grassroots, things we learn, our school experience as a kid is going to have a massive impact throughout the rest of our life, university, jobs. So I think it's important, and it's throughout. It's a manifesto that really resonates with me. So let me be honest. Actually, throughout my life, I've never been a Labour supporter, even though I may come out, I may seem to you as maybe a biased supporter. Honestly, that's not the truth. Because throughout my life, various points, at various situations, I've been interested in different aspects of different policies from different parties. But this particular time, with the necessities in our society at the moment that need to be addressed, someone like Jeremy Corbyn's manifesto, where he says he's going to scrap tuition fees, build 500,000 social housing, stop zero-hour contracts, ensure that when we come out of the EU, that we have tariff-free access to the single market, pump investment into the NHS. These, to me, suggest a man who's not listening simply to respond, but he's listening to understand the people's need and address them. So he kind of, even though we've got a massive age difference, it kind of resonates. Yeah.
Now, I mean, it looks like on Facebook we are getting our own discussion going on here. But there's a question right in the comments. It says, "Do you reckon that Jeremy Corbyn would be a strong leader?"
Yeah, I think this is a direct link to that debate the other day. Thing is, in my opinion, I think Jeremy Corbyn is a very strong leader. I'll tell you why, actually. Because I believe, I don't think strength is defined by aggression. I don't think strength is defined by how easy you are to let off a nuke bomb. I think it requires far more strength, and it requires a far more strong leader for you to be able to create a peaceful cooperation on a global scale. Years ago, John F. Kennedy actually said, the best weapon we have is peaceful cooperation. And that's true, because causing a nuclear attack or any sort of aggression, if it's going to hurt innocent people, surely a peaceful option is the better one.
The argument against this, in my opinion, is that there comes a point when peace doesn't work. For example, what again happens yesterday in London, and it's not that it just happened out of, last few months is one after the other. So, and as a Prime Minister, she's not Prime Minister now, but in 2 weeks, you never know. But Theresa May, she said enough is enough. So we have to take serious measures. And Jeremy Corbyn is talking about starting a talk and dialogue with these people. But some people who are against this, they're saying they are beyond peace talks. They have to be dealt with. So what's the...
I was going to say, the matter is, like, every action has a consequence, right? So for, like, all these terror attacks, etc., which is occurring, is due to something that's occurred before. Like, you never know. I mean, there might be underlying things that's happened which may have triggered a certain reaction from...
Yeah, of course, there's always something somewhere.
Definitely.
And I think this something which we're talking about is kind of going on for before even I was born, and
Yeah.
even before my father was born. So long time.
And the thing is, I don't think Jeremy Corbyn ever said he's going to just take the peace path, because that's another myth, essentially. He's never said, oh, I'm going to go out and promote peace around the world. Because I think especially because I studied law, there's this understanding of taking steps when you assess the situation, you assess the various circumstances, and you go through like a judicial method to get to the end product. I believe Jeremy Corbyn is someone like that who can take these steps, opposed to, like I mentioned, it's far more harder, but it's far more stronger to be able to promote peace across the world. I think that to be able to stand up to someone and say, no, we're not going to follow you into this war because it's wrong, I think that's strength in itself. So things like that I find as a good quality in our leader.
Okay, now honestly, I'm at the moment I had a plan of what I'm going to ask you, but this Facebook discussion itself is kind of triggering your conversation in a certain way. Now, Yusuf Hafiz, in fact, actually, I've got quite a few. Wow. Okay, I'm going to go read quickly. You guys doing? Okay, big up. Lauren LC Aries, I'm sorry. Hi, sorry. What's your view on opposition saying that if the Labour increases corporation tax, then business will start leaving UK?
Sorry, who was that? Sorry?
Lauren.
Oh yeah, Lauren. Hi, Lauren. Yeah, she's one of my best friends.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, what's your take on that? She's saying, what is your view on opposition saying that if Labour increases corporation tax, then business will start leaving UK?
That's a very. I understand why opposition said that, but I think it's exaggerated to some extent. I'll explain why. Because from what I've read, some of the research I've done is corporation tax, yes, is important, but what Jeremy Corbyn's suggesting of increasing it to, the point he's increasing it to, we're still lower than other major countries in Europe. We're still lower than Germany, France. So my question is like, okay, you're saying they're going to leave, but which country are they truly going to leave to? So I think it's an exaggerated...
wherever you go, they'll have a similar deal or the worst deal.
Worst deal. Like the major countries in Europe, they're higher than us anyway. So I believe it's exaggerated when they say that all these major companies are going to leave. I hope that answered Lauren's question, actually.
well, yes, it does answer. Basically, again, if you have to leave one place, you have to go somewhere else where you'll be better off. Otherwise, there's no point. Because leaving, for any corporation, taking their business going somewhere else is not a cheap
option. Exactly.
Cheap option. It's the last thing any corporation wants to do, unless they know that, but enough is enough. So yes, I think that answer. If they're gonna be worse off going somewhere else, then they might as well pay a little bit more and stay here from whatever they're paying. Okay, there are a lot of questions there. I think we don't have time to go through all of it. But one question Yusuf Hafiz is asking, which is I think I was going to ask you as well. What, in your opinion, will we have a majority government, or again there'll be hunger?
Honestly speaking, I don't trust the polls because the polls is...
Well, at the moment, Labour is winning in the polls, right?
Oh, is it?
Labour is gaining, I'm sorry, not winning, gaining in the polls.
Yeah, because I think end of the day, it just comes out to the results say it's important that everyone goes out there, votes. So.
We've seen it in Brexit, we've seen it in American elections that something totally opposite happened.
Another thing which I was going to say is a major issue that we have in today's society is that the fact that a lot of people are not concerned with the elections. They're just, it's like I've spoken to a lot of people, mainly students, who are just like, don't even have a clue what the elections are. And for them, it's just, like I said at the start, the hype, there was a hype because of the fact that tuition fees was going to get scrapped, etc. But other than that, if you speak to majority of students, or I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people who are concerned about what's going on and stuff. But there is, however, a lot of other people who are completely don't even care about what is going and how this is going to affect.
And oblivious to it.
Exactly.
It's like I said, it's oblivious, but I do believe, thanks to social media, thanks to various actually students taking interest in it, there is this massive surge in student interest in politics, especially in this one, because I think it's fundamental to our future. This particular one, I think it's going to have a massive impact. And whatever I said throughout today, I am a true believer in democracy. So whatever the outcome at the end of the week, I will truly accept it, and
try to work with it.
Yeah, that'll be fine. And because some people say we're not going to vote because I've heard my friends tell me politics is dirty and there's no truth in politics. But I disagree. I think you can do politics truthfully, and I believe that even in our political system, there are individuals out there like Jeremy Corbyn who have shown that you can do politics truthfully, and so I have hope.
I mean, this is something. It's completely now we are off topic here, which we started from, and I was kind of hoping to take it. But what I've talked to a lot of youth, and what I realized that a lot of our Asian youth are completely oblivious, and they not even consider going into politics and representing their own communities. What do you think, how much important it is for Asian communities to actually have their own representation in the parliament?
So this is something we're talking about today. So the whole point of us coming on here today, even though we're no political experts, nothing, was to kind of create a platform where the youth, the future generation, can talk about these pivotal issues, can suggest their even whether you support Labour, Conservative, Lib Dems, Greens. We should all come together to have a conversation to see what comes next. Like I said, I do have hope in our future, and I do believe the youth who are coming up are willing to talk about it moving forward. And you mentioned the question about representation. Essentially comes after we speak about what issues need to be addressed, then it comes of, because we're a multilateral, multinational, multicultural country now. So yeah, representation is important, but it also comes down to having an interest in it, addressing issues that need to be addressed, because you can't simply say, oh, we need to put this many people in Parliament. It more comes, the right person needs to get into that position.
Well, I think it's a bit of a catch-22 because a lot of, I've been talking to some Sikh youth, for example, and especially this election, Sikh community is actually making an effort, and they're saying it doesn't matter which party you join, go and join, do something.
Exactly, I agree, exactly. Whoever you support, whoever you back, I think it all comes down to, opposed to charisma of a leader or rating a leader on his looks or anything, it comes down to policies, the pledges, what you want, need changing, and what you believe in. So, like I said, everyone needs to go out and vote, whoever it is for, and get involved, essentially.
Okay, so now, at the end, is there anything you want to add, either of you or both of you, want to add to whatever you just said to your audience, or you want to conclude your message today?
I mean,
don't preach.
I mean, one thing I would tell everyone to do is make sure you vote, because this is definitely going to affect us in one way or another. Especially to like all my friends, what I would say is make sure you go out there and put your vote in, because every vote does count, and it's going to affect our future. So let's make sure like that we do elect a good party inside. So so it's beneficial to us and to our future.
Yeah. I'd just like to say a massive thank you to you, Rowdy, Southall TV, for having us on here, because it's a great initiative getting youth speaking. I'm sorry that we do lack political knowledge here. We're still young.
I think that's the whole point for today, because this is the biggest thing, that our youth today doesn't have that much of political knowledge. So I think, and now you just have to vote on Thursday, so you don't have time to get all this political knowledge. So you need to be aware of how to choose the right candidate who's suitable for you, what is important for you.
Yeah. Like Samu mentioned, it's essentially going out there voting, and like I mentioned, make sure you're voting on the policies that you want, the pledges, and whoever you believe in. And we'll hope for the best for our future.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining the show. It was a special show for today, and it was a real pleasure having you guys and everyone out there. And you guys can actually keep on going this debate going. What's happening on their Facebook right now? And thanks for liking. Unfortunately, I can't see all the names here, but thanks for liking the show. Thanks for commenting. And as I said, you can carry on, and you guys can go back in there and reply to those comments, so this discussion can carry on. And don't forget, I'm gonna be back at 6 o'clock with Nimrata Tingra, with the same program, and we'll talk about the current what's happening in the election and what are the polls saying, and what are the new pledges and policies coming up. And of course, on this show we talk about a little bit more on a local level as well, because fair enough. One party may be actually the ones who may gonna make the government, but on local level it's a totally different issue, and we have different issues on local level as well. So just keep watching Southall TV, and I'll be back at 6 o'clock with Nimrata Tingra with the same program, What's Up London. So thanks for watching, and I will see you later. Thank you. Bye bye.